Captain Alex Turner sat at his desk in the quiet control room of Aurora Base. The space station floated far from Earth, watching for signals from across the galaxy. Alex had worked this job for 3 years, and most nights were the same. He would check the computers, listen to static, and write reports about nothing interesting. Tonight felt different. Main screen showed waves of energy coming from a distant star system. Alex had never seen patterns like these before. The computer was trying to translate the signals, but the words made no sense. He called over Lieutenant Sarah Kim, who knew more about alien languages than anyone on the station. Sarah looked at the screen with wide eyes. Alex, this is not a normal signal. Someone is asking for help. Alex leaned forward in his chair. Help from who? I don't know yet. Let me run this through the big computer. Sarah typed fast on her keyboard. The translation program worked for 20 minutes. When it finished, both humans stared at the screen in shock. The message was clear now. Species called the Zephyrians was dying. Their enemies, the Korak Empire, had attacked their worlds. The Zephyrians had sent this message to every star system they could reach. They were asking anyone who could fight to please come and save them. Alex read the message 3 times. Sarah, how many people are we talking about? The signal says 12 billion Zerians live on their main planet. There are smaller colonies too. Sarah pointed to numbers on the screen. Alex, if no one helps them, they will all die. The message included pictures of the Zaffiran people. They looked almost human, but with pale blue skin and large, gentle eyes. The pictures showed their cities too. Everything was beautiful and peaceful. Gardens grew between tall buildings. Children played in parks while their parents watched and smiled. Then the message showed what the Korfak were doing. Alex felt sick looking at the pictures. Burning cities, dead families, empty worlds where millions once lived. The Korfak were not just winning the war, they were destroying everything. Alex stood up fast. We need to tell Admiral Harrison about this right away. Sarah nodded. But Alex, what can we do? We don't even know where these aliens live, and Earth has never fought a war in space before. I don't know, Alex said, but we have to try something. Admiral Jack Harrison lived on Earth, but he came to Aurora Base the next day. He was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes. Alex had met him twice before, and the Admiral always listened carefully to everything people told him. Alex played the Zephyrian message for Admiral Harrison. Admiral watched without speaking. When the message ended, he was quiet for a long time. How far away are they? Admiral Harrison asked. Sarah showed him a star map. About 40 light years from Earth. With our fastest ships, it would take 6 months to get there. And you're sure this message is real? Alex nodded. We checked it many times. The signal came from where they say it did. Science in the message is correct. These people are real and they need help. Admiral Harrison walked to the big window that looked out at the stars. What about the Galactic Council? Surely they know about this. Sarah pulled up more information on her computer. We sent a message to the council yesterday. They replied this morning. She read from the screen. They said the situation is unfortunate, but the council does not interfere in natural conflicts between species. They also said that humans are not members of the council and should not worry about galactic affairs. Alex felt angry. Natural conflicts. The Korfek are murdering billions of innocent people. Admiral Harrison turned around. What else do we know about the Korfak? Sarah changed the display. They control a big part of the galaxy. They have been conquering other planets for hundreds of years. Most species just surrender when the Korek arrive. The ones that fight always lose. What makes them so strong? Big ships, lots of soldiers, and they don't care about killing civilians. Every species they conquer becomes slaves. Every planet they take gets stripped of all its resources. Admiral Harrison sat down and looked at the Zaffiran message again. The picture showed children hiding in fear while explosions lit up the sky around them. How long do the Zaffirans have? He asked. Alex checked the latest signals from their system. The Korak are moving slowly. They like to make people suffer. Before the final attack, I think the Zephyrians have maybe 6 months before it's over, and no one else in the galaxy will help them. Sarah shook her head. The council species say they are too evolved for warfare. They think fighting is primitive. Some of them don't even have armies anymore. Admiral Harrison was quiet again. Alex could see he was thinking hard about something important. Admiral, Alex said carefully, I know we're not supposed to get involved in alien wars, but these people are going to die if no one helps them. 12 billion lives. I know, Admiral Harrison said. I've been thinking the same thing since I got your message yesterday. Sarah looked surprised. You have. The Korech Empire is growing bigger every year. They're moving toward our part of the galaxy. Even if we ignore this war, they'll reach Earth eventually, maybe in 50 years, maybe a H100 red, but they will come. Alex felt a chill. You think they'll attack us too? If they conquer the Zappirans, they'll be even stronger. And humans will be alone when they arrive. No allies, no friends, just us against an empire that has never lost war. Admiral Harrison stood up and walked around the room. But if we help the Zephyrians now, we might make a friend, and we might learn something about fighting the Korek. But Admiral, Sarah said, we don't even know if our weapons will work against their ships. We've never fought aliens before. That's true. We need more information. Admiral Harrison looked at Alex. I want you to keep monitoring their communications. Learn everything you can about both sides, how they fight, what ships they use, everything. Yes, sir. Admiral Harrison picked up his communication device. I need to talk to the president. This decision is too big for me to make alone. As the Admiral left Aurora Base, Alex and Sarah went back to their computers. More messages were coming from the Zephyrian system. The aliens were still calling for help, but their voices sounded weaker now. Alex translated a new message. A Zerian leader named Prime Minister was speaking to his people. My friends, he said, we have asked the galaxy for help. So far, no one has answered, but we must not give up hope. Somewhere among the stars, there must be people who care about right and wrong. We will keep sending our messages until someone hears us. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. They still have hope, Alex. Even now they believe someone will come. Alex looked at the star map showing the path to the Zaffiran worlds. It was a long, dangerous journey to a place humans had never been, to fight enemies they had never seen. But as he listened to more Zahirian voices calling across the darkness of space, Alex knew in his heart that Admiral Harrison would find a way to help them. Earth had never ignored people who needed saving before. They would not start now. On his computer screen, another message appeared from the Zaffiran system. This time it was from their children, asking if anyone in the big galaxy could hear them. Their small voices traveled 40 light years through the emptiness, carrying hope that someone somewhere would care enough to answer. Alex began typing a reply. 3 days after Admiral Harrison returned to Earth, Colonel Ryan Cooper got orders that changed his life forever. He was told to take his best team and fly to the Zapperian star system. Their job was simple but dangerous: watch the war happening there and report back to Earth. Ryan had fought in many battles, but never in space against aliens. His team included 12 of the best soldiers Earth had ever trained. They climbed aboard the USS Valiant, a new ship designed to hide from enemy sensors. Nobody outside Earth was supposed to know they existed. The journey took 4 weeks. During that time, Ryan studied everything humans knew about the Korak Empire. The aliens were big and strong, with thick gray skin and sharp teeth. They came from a planet where only the toughest creatures survived. War was their way of life. The Zaphirians were different. They evolved on a world with no dangerous animals and perfect weather. For thousands of years they never needed to fight anyone. They spent their time learning about science and art instead of building weapons. When the USS Valiant reached Zapperian space, Ryan could not believe what he saw. Through the ship's cameras, huge core warships surrounded a small planet called Haven Colony. The alien ships were firing massive energy beams at cities full of innocent people. Look at that, said Lieutenant Danny Martinez, pointing at his screen. They're not even trying to capture the cities, they're just destroying everything. Ryan watched Corfax soldiers land on the planet surface. The aliens were twice as big as humans, wearing heavy armor and carrying weapons that could cut through buildings. They moved through the streets, hunting down every Zaffiran they could find. The Zapperians tried to run, but they had nowhere to go. Their own people had no weapons and did not know how to fight. Ryan saw families holding each other as Korak soldiers approached them. This is not war, said Sergeant Kelly Adams. This is murder. Ryan recorded everything they saw. After 6 hours, Haven Colony was silent. 2 million Zephyrans had lived there that morning. Now they were all dead, and the Corfac were loading their ships with everything valuable from the planet. Ryan sent his report back to Earth using a special communication system that could not be detected. Within hours he got a reply from Admiral Harrison. More human ships were coming, but it would take weeks for them to arrive. Meanwhile on Earth, President Lisa Grant sat in the White House with her top advisors. Admiral Harrison had shown her Ryan's recordings from Haven Colony. The president had seen wars before, but nothing like this. How many more planets will they destroy while we make our decision? She asked. General Paul Martinez opened a folder full of pictures and numbers. Our intelligence says the Corfec are planning to attack 15 more Zapperian colonies. After that, they'll move on to the main planet where 12 billion people live. President Grant looked at the faces of her advisors. Some thought Earth should stay out of alien wars. Others believed humans had a duty to help innocent people, no matter what planet they lived on. What are the risks if we get involved? President Grant asked. General Martinez stood up and walked to a big map of the galaxy. The Corfec Empire is huge. They have thousands of warships in control over 50 star systems. If we fight them, we might lose, and if we don't fight them, then in about 50 years they'll be strong enough to attack Earth, and we'll face them alone with no allies. Dr. Amy Chin, Earth's best scientist for studying aliens, raised her hand. Madame President, I've been analyzing the data from Colonel Cooper's mission. The Zephyrians have technology we've never seen before. Their computers, their energy sources, their medical knowledge. If we save them, they might share these secrets with us. President Grant nodded. What about our own military? Can we actually win against the Corfec? Admiral Harrison spread out pictures of human and alien spaceships. Our ships are smaller than theirs, but they're faster and harder to hit. Our weapons use different technology that might surprise them. The biggest advantage we have is experience. Experience, Madame President. Earth is what the galaxy calls a death world. Our planet has storms, earthquakes, diseases, and dangerous animals. Every human alive today comes from people tough enough to survive here. The Korech are strong, but they've never fought anyone who grew up on a world as harsh as Earth. General Martinez added more information. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years. We know about strategy, tactics, and working together as a team. Most alien species in the galaxy stopped fighting long ago. They forgot how to be soldiers. President Grant was quiet for several minutes. Everyone in the room waited for her decision. Show me the message from the Zahirian children again, she said. Finally, Dr. Chen played a recording that Colonel Cooper had intercepted. Young Zahirian voices spoke in their musical language. The translation appeared on screen. Hello, anyone out there? We are scared and don't know what to do. Our parents say bad people are coming to hurt us. If anyone can hear this, please help us. We promise to be your friends forever if you save us. President Grant closed her eyes. When she opened them, her decision was clear. Admiral Harrison, how many ships can we send? Admiral Harrison smiled. For the first time in days, every ship we have. Madam President, I'll call the leaders of every nation on Earth. When they see what the Korech are doing, they'll want to help too. Within 6 hours, President Grant spoke to the world on television. She showed the recordings from Haven Colony and explained what was happening in the Zephyrian star system. My fellow humans, she said, far from Earth, innocent people are dying. They have asked the galaxy for help, but no one will save them. Today I am proud to announce that Earth will answer their call. We will send our brave men and women across the stars to fight for people we have never met, because it is the right thing to do. The response was incredible. Every country on Earth offered to help. Soldiers volunteered faster than the military could train them. Factories started working around the clock to build more ships and weapons. Captain Steve Parker got command of the first battle group heading to Zephyrian space. His ships included the USS Liberty, Earth's biggest aircraft carrier, along with 6 destroyers and 4 cruisers. Admiral Janet Brooks would lead the USS Liberty. She had fought in every major Earth conflict for the past 20 years. If anyone could figure out how to beat the Corfec, it was her. As Captain Parker's fleet prepared to leave Earth orbit, they received a new message from Colonel Cooper. The Korech had started attacking Another Zaffron colony called New Garden, 3 million people lived there, including many children. We don't have time to wait for more ships, Captain Parker told his crew. Those people need help now. The human fleet jumped to faster than light speed, racing toward a war that would decide the future of the galaxy. Behind them, more ships were being built. As fast as possible, every human on Earth was united behind a single goal: saving the Zephyrians. In the Zephyrian star system, Colonel Cooper continued watching the Corfac fleet. He had counted over 200 enemy warships, each one bigger than anything Earth had ever built. But as he watched human ships appear at the edge of the system, Ryan felt something he had never experienced before. He was not just fighting for Earth anymore. He was fighting for every innocent person in the galaxy who could not fight for themselves. The Korach had no idea what was coming for them. Captain Steve Parker stood on the bridge of his destroyer USS Phoenix as the human fleet dropped out of faster than light travel. Through the main viewing screen, he could see the Zephyrian star system for the first time. What he saw made his hands clench into fists. Massive core battleships hung in space like dark metal mountains. Each one was 3 times bigger than any human warship. Energy beams shot down from the alien ships, turning entire Zaffron cities into burning ruins. The beautiful blue-green planet that the Zapparans called New Garden was covered in smoke and fire. Captain, said Lieutenant Tom Wilson from the communication station, I'm picking up distress calls from the planet's surface, thousands of them. Commander Ben Walsh, captain of another human destroyer, appeared on the main screen. Steve, are you seeing this? They're not even trying to capture anything useful. They're just killing everyone. Steve nodded grimly. Ben, take your ship around to the far side of the planet. Look for Zapparian survivors. We can evacuate. I'm going after that supply convoy. On his radar screen, Steve could see a group of smaller Korach ships moving between the planet and their main fleet. These ships were carrying stolen goods and captured Girians back to the big battleships. All fighters launch immediately, Steve ordered. Major Lesa Rodriguez, take your squadron and hit those supply ships. Show these aliens what human pilots can do. Lisa had been waiting for this moment since she joined the mission. She climbed into her fighter craft, a small but fast ship designed for space combat. Behind her, 23 other human pilots did the same. The human fighters shot out of the USS Phoenix like angry wasps. The Korach's supply ships were not expecting an attack. They moved slowly and had only light weapons for protection. Lisa's squadron hit them from above and below. At the same time, the Korach had never seen this kind of three-dimensional fighting before. Most alien species fought in straight lines like ships on an ocean. Humans had learned to fight in space like birds in the sky. Target the engines first, Lisa called over the radio. We want those ships disabled, not destroyed. There might be prisoners on board. The human fighters moved like dancers, spinning and diving around the confused Korach ships. Within 10 minutes, all 6 supply vessels were floating helplessly in space. On the main Korach battleship, War Admiral Tecker stared at his screens in disbelief. He was a huge creature even for a Corsund. Battles, he had conquered 17 different species, but he had never seen anything like this attack. What are these new ships? He growled at His crew, where did they come from? Younger Korak officer checked his computer. The ships are small and use technology we don't recognize. The computer says they might be from a species called humans. Thera had never heard of humans before. Are they members of the Galactic Council? No. War Admiral. The Council database says humans live on a single planet called Earth. They are classified as primitives. From a death world, Thera laughed, showing his sharp teeth. Primitives. These must be the same Council weaklings who refused to help the Zephyrians. Send 3 destroyers to crush these insects. Then we'll continue our work here. Meanwhile, Ambassador Helen Carter was trying to make contact with the Zephyrian government from her ship. Helen had spent years learning alien languages, but she had never spoken to a species facing extinction before. Her communications finally connected with someone on the planet's surface. Zephyrian leader appeared on her screen. He had the same pale blue skin and large eyes as the pictures from their distress messages, but his face showed terrible sadness. I am Prime Minister of the Zarian Council, he said in careful English. Are you really here to help us? We had given up hope that anyone would come. Helen felt her throat get tight with emotion. Prime Minister, I am Ambassador Helen Carter from Earth. We received your distress call and came as fast as we could. We're going to get your people out of here. Felter's eyes filled with tears. You traveled across the galaxy to save people you have never met. Why would you do such a thing? Because it's right, Helen said simply. No one should have to die just because they can't defend themselves. Velter was quiet for a moment. The Galactic Council told us that warfare was primitive, they said. Civilized species do not interfere in conflicts. Then they're not as civilized as they think they are. Helen replied, how many of your people are still alive on New Garden? About 2 million in underground shelters, but the Korak are digging them out one by one. We have maybe 6 hours before they find the last hiding places. Helen turned to her ship's pilot. Get me Captain Parker immediately. On the USS Phoenix, Steve was watching his fighters return from their successful mission. They had captured all 6 Korvax supply ships and freed over 300 Zerian prisoners, but he could see 3 large Korvax destroyers moving toward the human fleet. Captain called. Lieutenant Wilson, Ambassador Carter is requesting immediate transport ships for civilian evacuation. Steve looked at the approaching enemy ships, then at the planet below where millions of innocent people were hiding in fear. The math was simple. 3 human destroyers against 3 Korak destroyers. Even odds, but the alien ships were much bigger. Send word to Admiral Brooks on the USS Liberty. Steve ordered, tell her to launch all transport ships for evacuation duty. We'll keep the Korak bus busy, Commander. Ben Walsh's voice came over the radio. Steve, those destroyers are twice our size. Are you sure about this, Ben? Remember what General Martinez told us. Back on Earth, we're not trying to match them ship for ship. We're going to outthink them. The first space battle between humans and Korvax began 15 minutes later. The alien destroyers moved forward in a straight line, firing their big energy weapons at long range. It was exactly what Steve had expected. All ships split formation. Steve commanded. Attack. Pattern Delta. Let's show them how. Deathworlders fight. The human ships suddenly scattered in different Directions: the Korak weapons designed to hit large targets moving predictably. Missed completely. The human ships were too small and too fast, but the human weapons were designed differently. Instead of big energy beams, they fired hundreds of small missiles that could change direction in flight. The Korfak had never seen anything like them. Commander Tony Bennett, leading a squad of human Marines, watched the space battle from his transport ship. His job was to land on New Garden and help evacuate Zahirian civilians, but first, the human warships had to clear the way. The first Korak destroyer took a direct hit from Ben Walsh's ship. The alien vessel shuddered as human missiles punched through its armor. Black smoke poured from the damage. Their shields worked differently than ours, Ben reported over the radio. Our missiles are getting through, but it's taking a lot of them. Steve dodged another energy beam from the second Korak destroyer. Keep moving. Don't let them get a clean shot. The space battle continued for an hour. The humans were faster, but the Korak ships could take more damage. Finally, Steve made a desperate decision. Ben, when I give the signal, ram the middle ship full speed. Steve, that's suicide. No, it's not. Trust me. Steve waited until all three Korak destroyers were lined up, trying to catch his ship in a crossfire. Then he gave the signal. Ben's destroyer shot forward at maximum speed, but at the last second it dove under the Korfak ship instead of hitting it. The maneuver confused the aliens just long enough for Steve to slip behind them. From that position, the human ships could hit the Korfak destroyer's engines. Within minutes, all three alien ships were disabled and drifting in space. War Admiral the Corps watched his destroyers get defeated and felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. These humans fought like no species he had ever encountered on the planet's surface. Commander Bennett's Marines were helping Zahirian families climb aboard transport ships. The aliens were amazed that humans had risked everything to save them. As the last transport lifted off from New Garden, Prime Minister Velter sent a message to the human fleet. People of Earth, he said, you have given us hope when we had none. Whatever happens next, the Zaffiran people will never forget what you have done for us today. Steve Parker looked at his damaged ships and tired crew. They had won their first battle, but the real Korak fleet was still out there. Hundreds of ships, thousands of soldiers, and a war admiral who now knew that humans were not primitives. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone threatened Earth's friends. General Carl Thompson had never seen anything like it in his 30 years of military service. Every spaceport on Earth, Mars, and the moon colonies was launching warships as fast as they could be loaded. The biggest military force in human history was heading toward the Zephyrian star system. Carl stood in the command center on Earth, watching hundreds of ships appear on his screens. Every nation on the planet had contributed something. The Americans sent their newest carriers. The Europeans provided advanced fighters. The Chinese launched heavy battleships. Even small countries like Iceland and Jamaica sent supply vessels. General, said Colonel Rita Barnes, we have confirmation from the outer colonies. The Australian mining ships have been converted to troop transports. Canadian fleet is 3 hours behind them. Carl nodded. When humans decided to fight, they fought with everything they had, but he worried it might not be enough. Intelligence reports said the Korak Empire had over 3,000 warships. Earth was sending everything it could build, and they still had less than 400 ships in the Zapirian system. Captain Pete Davis commanded the battleship USS Intrepid, the most powerful warship Earth had ever built. His job was to test Korak defenses before the main human fleet arrived. Pete watched through his ship's cameras as the massive Korak fleet formed up for battle. Their ships looked like floating fortresses covered in weapons and armor. The biggest ones were 5 times larger than the USS Intrepid. Captain said, "Lieutenant Jane Foster, enemy ships are moving to surround us. Count shows over 200 vessels." Pete smiled grimly. "Jane, signal the fleet. Tell them it's time to find out what our new weapons can do." The USS Intrepid fired its main weapon for the first time in actual combat. Instead of energy beams like most alien technology, it shot a stream of metal projectiles moving at incredible speed. The Korak had never seen anything like it. The projectiles punched clean through the armor of a core cruiser. The alien ship split in half and exploded. The other core ship stopped moving, confused by this new type of weapon. War Admiral the Khmor roared with anger as he watched one of his ships die. What kind of weapon was that? Our sensors didn't even detect energy buildup. His science officer checked the readings twice. War Admiral, they're using solid metal instead of energy. Our shields are designed to stop particle beams, not physical objects moving at high speed. Thera had conquered 17 species, but none of them had used such primitive yet effective weapons. All ships advance. Crush these Deathworld savages. The biggest space battle in galactic history began as nearly 300 ships opened fire at once. The darkness between planets lit up with explosions and energy beams. Captain Pete found himself fighting 3 Korak ships at the same time. His battleship was tough, but the aliens had more firepower. Slowly his shields began to fail. Captain called his weapons officer. USS Denver is requesting permission to assist. Granted. Tell Captain Martinez to watch our back while we deal with the big one. Captain Joe Martinez brought his heavy cruiser alongside the USS Intrepid just as core fighters swarmed around both human ships. The alien pilots were skilled, but they had never fought humans before. Human fighter pilots had trained in Earth's atmosphere, dealing with weather, wind, and gravity. Space combat felt easy compared to flying through a thunderstorm or dodging mountains. The Korak fighters built for the emptiness of space could not match human agility. Meanwhile, on the surface of New Garden, Colonel Michelle Foster was teaching Zahirian civilians how to fight back against Korak ground troops. The aliens had always been peaceful, but they were smart and learned quickly. Remember, Michelle told a group of young Zahirians, you don't have to beat them in a fair fight. You just have to slow them down until our ships can help you. A Zapirian named Colwyn raised his hand. Colonel Foster, we have never heard anyone before. How can we do this? Michelle looked at the destroyed city. Around them, Korak soldiers had killed Coin's family the day before. Colwyn, sometimes good people have to do hard things to protect others. Your children are counting on you. The improvised Zahirian resistance began small ambushes against Korak patrols. They used their knowledge of the planet's cave systems to hit the aliens and disappear. Korak, used to easy victories, found themselves fighting ghosts. Dr. Frank Miller, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, made an important discovery while examining captured Corvac equipment. He was working in a laboratory ship at the edge of the battle zone. "This is incredible," Frank said to his assistant. "Look at these scan results. Corvac technology is advanced, but it's specialized for fighting other energy-based weapons. They never expected to face kinetic projectiles or chemical explosives." His assistant, Dr. Carol West, looked at the data. "Frank, are you saying our primitive weapons are actually better?" "Not better, just different. The Corvac have been fighting the same types of enemies for so long they optimized everything for energy warfare, but humans developed our technology on a world where nothing was predictable. We had to be ready for anything." Frank's discovery changed everything. He sent his report to every human ship in the fleet. Within hours, human captains were modifying their weapons to exploit Corvac weaknesses. The tide of battle began to turn when Captain Martinez led a desperate assault on the Corvac command ship. The alien vessel was enormous, bristling with weapons and protected by thick armor. But Martinez had a plan. "All Marines, prepare for boarding action," he announced over his ship's communication system. "We're going to take that monster." From the inside, Lieutenant Commander Kate Morrison, who had first helped translate the Zephyrian distress calls, was now leading a team of Marines. She had never expected to fight aliens in hand-to-hand combat when she joined the Space Monitoring Service. Martinez's ship moved fast and low, dodging Corvac weapons fire until it reached the enemy command vessel. Magnetic clamps locked the two ships together, and human Marines cut through the alien hull with plasma torches. Kate led the first squad through the breach. The inside of the Corvac ship was dark and filled with smoke. Emergency lights flashed red, and alien voices shouted commands in their harsh language. The Corvac crew had never fought boarding actions before. Most galactic warfare happened at long range with energy weapons. The idea of enemy soldiers inside their ship was completely foreign to them. Human Marines trained for close combat on Earth's urban battlefields moved through the alien ship like experts. They used grenades, assault rifles, and hand-to-hand combat techniques that the Corvac had never seen. Kate's team fought their way to the bridge where War Admiral the Corps was trying to coordinate his fleet. The huge alien turned to face the human soldiers with surprise and rage. "Impossible," Thera growled. "No species has ever boarded a Corps command ship." Kate raised her rifle. "Admiral, you're under arrest for crimes against innocent civilizations." Thera laughed and drew a massive energy sword. "Little Deathworlder, I have killed warriors twice your size." The fight lasted only 30 seconds. Thera was strong and experienced, but Kate had trained in Earth's gravity, which was stronger than his home world. When he swung his heavy sword, she was fast enough to dodge. When she struck back with her combat knife, he was too slow to block. War Admiral Tekor, conqueror of 17 species, fell to a human soldier half his size, with their commander captured and their tactics failing against human unpredictability. The Corvac fleet began to retreat. Many of their ships were damaged or destroyed. The survivors jumped to faster than light speed and fled toward their home territory. Captain Pete Davis watched the alien ships disappear and felt something he had never experienced Before, Earth had just defeated a galactic empire in open battle, but the victory came at a cost. 43 human ships had been destroyed, and over 2,000 Earth soldiers had died fighting for people they had never met. As rescue ships moved through the battle zone, Pete received a message from Admiral Harrison. Back on Earth, the Admiral's words were simple but carried enormous meaning. Captain Davis, word of your victory is spreading across the galaxy. 12 other species have sent messages asking for Earth's help against the Korak Empire. It seems the galaxy has been waiting a long time for someone willing to stand up to bullies. Pete looked at the rescued Zephyrian ships flying alongside the human fleet. The aliens had been so grateful for Earth's help that they immediately offered to share their advanced technology. The age of human isolation was over. Earth had become the leader of a new alliance dedicated to protecting the innocent, and across the galaxy, oppressed worlds were rising up with hope. For the first time in centuries, the Korak Empire had awakened something they never expected: the fury of Earth. President Lisa Grant walked into the Great Hall of the Galactic Council for the first time in human history. The massive room was filled with representatives from hundreds of alien species, but all eyes were on the woman from Earth. 6 months had passed since the human victory at New Garden. News of Earth's defeat of the Korak Empire had spread across the galaxy faster than anyone thought possible. Species that had been hiding in fear for centuries were suddenly sending messages to Earth, asking for help and friendship. The council chamber looked like something from a dream. Floating platforms held delegates from worlds Lisa had never imagined. There were beings made of living crystal, others that looked like walking trees, and some that seemed to be made of pure energy. The council speaker, an ancient creature called Vex Thara, addressed Lisa with a voice that sounded like music. President Grant of Earth, we welcome you to this emergency session. Your species has been granted temporary membership status due to recent galactic events. Lisa stood at the speaker's platform and looked around the room. These same beings had ignored the Zephyrian pleas for help just months ago. Now they wanted to talk because humans had proven they could fight. Thank you, Speaker Vexler, Lisa said. I come here today not as a conqueror, but as someone who believes all innocent life should be protected. A delegate from the luminary species, beings of pure light, flickered with what might have been annoyance. President Grant, your species used primitive violence to solve a problem. This goes against everything civilized beings believe. Lisa pulled out a small device and activated it. Holographic images filled the air above the council chamber. They showed Korak war crimes from dozens of worlds, dead cities, enslaved populations, entire species wiped out. This is what civilization looked like to the Korak Empire, Lisa said calmly. 12 billions of Firians were about to die. You called it a natural conflict. I call it murder. The images continued, showing the destruction the Korak had caused over centuries of conquest. Many council delegates looked away, but Lisa kept talking. The Korak Empire controlled 57 star systems. They had enslaved or destroyed 34 different species, and they were growing stronger every year while you did nothing. An elderly delegate from the Nexari species of crystal beings spoke up. President Grant, we evolved beyond warfare millions of years ago. We believe that advanced species should not interfere in conflicts. Then you're not as advanced as you think, Lisa replied. Any species that watches innocent people die and calls it evolution is still primitive where it matters most. The chamber was silent. Lisa continued her speech, knowing that the future of the galaxy might depend on what she said next. Today I present evidence of Korvac war crimes against 47 different species. I demand that the surviving Korvac leadership face trial for genocide, and I propose the creation of a new defense alliance to protect peaceful civilizations from future aggressors. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Jack Harrison was overseeing the liberation of the last Korvac stronghold. The fortress world of Korvac Prime had never been conquered in its entire history. Now it was surrounded by ships from Earth and 6 other species that had joined the human alliance. The Korvac had tried to make a final stand, but their empire was crumbling when their slaves learned that someone had finally defeated the Great Core Fleet. Rebellions broke out on dozens of worlds. Species that had been conquered centuries ago suddenly remembered how to fight for their freedom. Admiral Harrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching as the last Korvac commanders surrendered. The war that had seemed impossible to win was finally over. Admiral said, "Captain Anna Wells, we're receiving surrender signals from the Planetary Defense Force. The Korvac government is requesting terms." Harrison nodded. "Tell them the terms are simple, unconditional surrender, immediate release of all prisoners and slaves, and full cooperation with war crimes investigations on the planet's surface." General Carl Thompson led the occupation forces into the Korvac capital city. The aliens who had once seemed unstoppable now looked broken and defeated. Many of them had never imagined their empire could fall, but the humans were not cruel victors. They brought food and medical supplies for civilian populations. They set up courts to determine which Korvac had committed war crimes and which had simply been following orders. Dr. Amy Chen had arrived with the occupation forces to help process the millions of slaves the Corps had taken from other worlds. Many of these people had been prisoners for decades. Some came from species that were thought to be extinct. General Thompson, Amy said as she reviewed the prisoner lists, "We've found survivors from the altar system." The Korvac told everyone those people were completely destroyed 50 years ago. Carl shook his head in amazement. How many species did they claim to wipe out when they really just enslaved the survivors? At least 12 that we know of so far. General, we're not just ending a war. We're bringing entire civilizations back from the dead. Back at the Galactic Council, President Grant was finishing her speech. She had presented detailed evidence of Korvac crimes and her proposal for a new defensive alliance. The Galactic Defense Fleet will be composed of volunteers from any species willing to protect innocent life, she said. Earth offers to provide military leadership and training. Other species can contribute their advanced technology and scientific knowledge. The vote was closer than Lisa had hoped, but it passed. The Galactic Council officially recognized the new Defense Alliance and authorized trials for Korvac war criminals. After the session ended, Prime Minister of the Zapirians approached President Grant. The alien leader looked much healthier than he had during the dark days of the War. President Grant Velter said, "My people have prepared something for yours. We know that humans lost many soldiers. Saving us, we want to honor their sacrifice." 3 weeks later, Lisa stood on the rebuilt surface of New Garden, the first Zephyrian colony that humans had helped save. A beautiful monument had been constructed in the center of the main city. The names of every human soldier who died fighting Lili Korek were carved into walls made of a special crystal that would last forever. The inscription at the base of the monument was written in both English and Zephyrian. When our plea went unheard by those who claimed to be civilized, Earth's children crossed the void to answer our call. They proved that true civilization is measured not by technological advancement, but by the willingness to protect the innocent. Captain Alex Turner, who had first received the Zephyrian distress call, was now Admiral Turner, commander of the new Galactic Defense Fleet. He stood beside the monument with tears in his eyes, thinking about the friends he had lost in the war. "Admir," said Colonel Cooper, "we're receiving another distress call. The hegemony of Rock is attacking peaceful colonies in the outer rim." Alex looked up at the stars where human and allied ships were already preparing to respond to this new threat. The galaxy was a big place full of bullies who thought might made right, but they had never faced Earth's Deathworlders before. "Colonel Cooper," Alex said, "signal the fleet. Tell them we have people to save." As the combined human-alien fleet jumped to faster than light speed, heading toward another distant crisis, the galaxy began to change. Species that had lived in fear for centuries started to hope again. Young beings on dozens of worlds looked up at the stars and dreamed of becoming defenders like the humans. The Galactic Council, humbled by humanity's example, began to reform itself. No longer would they ignore cries for help from innocent civilizations. The age of passive observation was over, replaced by an active commitment to justice under human leadership. Earth had become what it was always meant to be, not the conqueror of the galaxy, but its protector. And wherever innocent people called for help across the vast darkness of space, the Deathworlders would answer. The universe had learned an important lesson: when good people do nothing, evil grows strong. But when good people stand up and fight, even the greatest empires can fall. Humanity had taught the galaxy how to be truly civilized.